please hit that subscribe button.
Hey everybody.
Better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody. It's time for another episode of Hit or Miss here, where I look at NHL teams' first-round draft picks from 2005 through 2015 and determine if each pick is a hit or a miss. Today we're going to be talking about the Ottawa Senators, continuing along with the Atlantic Division. Before we get started, I just ask that you please hit that thumbs up button, give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Both of those things greatly help out and are very, very much appreciated. But let's get into it here, looking at the Ottawa Senators' first-round pick starting in 2005, where they selected 9th overall and took defenseman Brian Lee. Now, this one is absolutely a miss, as Brian Lee, who was a top 10 draft pick, only ever played 209 games in the NHL, scoring 5 goals, 31 assists for 36 points, and a -37 rating. Obviously, never coming close to living up to being a top 10 draft pick, and quite honestly, not even living up to being a first-round draft pick at all. Did not last very long at the NHL level. 2006, they selected 28th overall. And with that pick, they took left wing Nick Foligno. Now, this one is a huge hit, as Nick Foligno has gone on to have a very, very good NHL career. He is now with the Columbus Blue Jackets and has been for the last number of years. He started his career in Ottawa and then ended up in Columbus and has had a very, very good career throughout his time in the NHL. 908 games played, 196 goals, 270 career assists for 466 career points and a -2 rating, and obviously still going strong with Columbus. So Nick Foligno, absolutely, absolutely a hit. 2007, they selected 29th overall, and with that pick, they took center Jim O'Brien. Now, this one is a miss, as O'Brien only ever played 77 games in the NHL, scoring 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points, and a -4 rating. Obviously, never really became a full-time NHL player, only played 77 games in his entire career. Not what you want out of a first-round pick, so that makes this one a miss. 2008, they selected 15th overall, and with that pick, they took defenseman Erik Carlson. Now, obviously, this one is another massive hit for the Ottawa Senators, as Carlson went on to be probably the best defenseman in franchise history, and obviously now has moved on to the San Jose Sharks. He's had some injury issues, but still one of the best offensive defensemen of this entire generation, and spectacular for so many years for the Ottawa Senators. Obviously, he still leaves a lot to be desired with his defensive zone play, but he's won a Norris Trophy. He's taken the team on deep playoff runs. He's been an incredibly productive offensive defenseman points-wise. So 736 games played, 135 goals, 468 career assists for 603 career points and a -45 rating. Over 600 career points for Erik Carlson as a defenseman. Absolutely a hit with that pick in 2008. 2009, they selected 9th overall again, and with this pick, they selected defenseman Jared Cowen. I don't know what's with them in picking defenseman 9th overall, but they don't do well, because Cowen is also a miss. He played 249 games in the NHL, scoring 15 goals and 31 assists for 46 points and a -7 rating, but certainly never, ever, ever lived up to being a top 10 draft pick. I remember the hype around Jared Cowen when he came into the league was huge. There was so much hype surrounding him about, how good of a two-way defenseman he was going to be, because he could put up points, but he could play well defensively as well. He was tough. He was willing to fight. He had that physical nature to his game. There was so much hype around Jared Cowen, and he just never came close to living up to it. So that is absolutely a miss there. 2010, they didn't have a first-round pick, so we move on to 2011, where they had 3 first-round picks in 2011. The first one coming 6th overall, where they took center Mika Zibanejad. Obviously a huge hit as Zibanejad, now with the New York Rangers, is blossoming into a superstar in the NHL. He's played 548 games, scoring 176 goals, 208 assists, 384 career points, and a -28 rating. He had a monster season this year. Really, the past 2 years, Zibanejad has broken out from being a very good player to being an absolute star player and on the path to be a superstar player in the NHL. So, unfortunately for the Senators, they traded Zibanejad to the Rangers for Derek Brassard and are not reaping the rewards of that Zibanejad pick, but that doesn't take away from the pick itself. He has been a spectacular NHLer so far. Huge hit there. 21st overall, they selected right wing Stefan Mason, and this one is a miss as Mason has only played 199 games in the NHL. He's bounced around to a few different teams now. 31 goals, 23 assists for 54 points and a -2 rating. He's a depth player. He really hasn't found a full-time, long-term home at the NHL level. He hasn't really become like that full-time NHLer that you're hoping with a first-round draft pick. So I'm going to say for now, Mason is a miss. And then they picked again at 24th overall and took left wing Matt Puempel. This one is absolutely a miss as Puempel has not even played 100 career games in the NHL. Spent a lot more time down in the AHL. He's played 87 NHL games, scoring 11 goals and 5 assists for 16 points and a -10 rating, but again has never become really a full-time NHLer, as somebody who's in the lineup on a night in and night out basis and a contributor to an NHL team. So that makes that one a miss. 2012, they selected 15th overall, and with this pick, they took defenseman Cody Ceci. Now, I'm going to have to say this one is a hit, even though I am not a fan personally of Cody Ceci. He's played 496 games in the NHL. He's got 33 goals, 93 assists for 126 points and a -53 rating. He is a regular in the NHL when he's healthy. It's not like he's a healthy scratch. It's not like he's on the borderline of getting sent down to AHL. He's an NHLer, and now he may not be a very good NHLer, and I don't think he's a very good defenseman, and I would not want him on my team. But nonetheless, he's still an NHLer. No matter where he goes after this season, he's going to be an NHLer. He's going to be in an NHL lineup, so I have to call that one a hit. 2013, they selected 17th overall. And with that pick, they took forward Curtis Lazar. This is a close one. I'm a little borderline on this because Lazar has played a lot of, in the NHL over the last few years, but he's been right on that line of AHL, NHL. So I'm going to say miss on Lazar because he was a top 20 pick and he really hasn't become like a full-time in the lineup. Actually, he was earlier in his career. He was given a pretty good NHL chance early in his career, but over the last few years, he's, kind of bounced between the AHL and the NHL, and he's been a guy that gets called up when someone gets injured. Or, he finished this year in Buffalo, but he started the year down in the AHL because I remember watching him play for Rochester in the American League earlier this year. So he's kind of right on that line of depth NHL forward or good AHL forward, but he hasn't really consistently been playing at the NHL level. So I'm going to say miss on Curtis Lazar. He does have 284 games played, but only 20 goals and 41 assists for 61 points and a -20 rating. It's close, but I'm going to go miss with Lazar. 2014, they didn't have a first-round pick, so we move on to 2015, where they had 2 first-round picks. The first one coming 18th overall, where they took defenseman Thomas Chabot. Obviously, massive, massive hit there, as Chabot has played 205 games in the NHL, scoring 29 goals, 90 assists already in his career for 119 points and a -44 rating. He is a huge piece of the Senators organization right now, their young core moving forward. Obviously, the team's struggling right now and very much in a rebuilding phase, but Chabot is going to be one of those key pieces through the rebuild. He signed a massive long-term deal with the Senators, so he's not going anywhere, and he is a key piece for that team now and going forward. One of their best defensemen, probably their best defenseman right now. So Chabot's definitely a hit. And then finally at 21st overall, they took center Colin White. And this is also a hit, as White has become a really good young player for the Senators over the last couple of seasons. He's played 155 games in the NHL, scoring 23 goals, 47 assists for 70 points and a -35 rating. Colin White is similar to Chabot, is another one of those young players who is going to be a key piece for Ottawa going forward. And as they're rebuilding, is one of those young guys that is really going to, continue to grow and develop with the team and become an impact player for them. So definitely a hit there with Colin White. So there we have it, guys. Ottawa Senators, hit or miss. We obviously saw plenty of hits here. We saw quite a few misses as well. They've kind of been, it's been a mixed bag with Ottawa drafting. They've obviously, Nick Foligno was a great pick. Erik Carlson was a great pick. Zibanejad, Ceci has turned out okay. Chabot obviously is huge for them. Colin White. Then you have the Brian Lees, the Jared Cowens, the Jim O'Briens, and, Matt Pumples and Stefan Masons as well. So it's really a mixed bag with the Ottawa Senators. Unfortunately for them, a lot of those early hits, because they're going through a rebuild now, are actually no longer on the team. Zibanejad's in New York. Ceci is in Toronto. Carlson's in San Jose. Foligno's in Columbus. These guys have turned out to be really good players, but they're not playing for the Senators anymore. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.